The Nintendo Switch has been around for over 8 years, building a massive game library that's hard to fully explore. But with new releases slowing down and a Switch 2 Direct on the way, now feels like the perfect time to highlight some of the hidden gems you might have missed. For this video, I've picked 5 games that deserve more attention, whether it's for their unique gameplay, charming design, or how well they run on the platform. These are the games I believe are underrated and worth checking out. Most of these titles aren't exclusive to the system, but I think they're best played on Nintendo's hybrid. So without further delay, here are 5 underrated games worth playing on your Nintendo Switch. Now the first game I want to talk about is Cruis'n Blast. It's one of those ridiculously fun games you can't believe actually got released. I mean, how often do you see an over-the-top arcade racer where you can drive cars, bikes, unicorns and even UFOs? It's the kind of wild experience that deserves to be celebrated more often. Now any good racer starts with a decent track variety, and Cruis'n Blast excels in this department. One has you falling through a mountain, another takes you through a pirate ship, and there are even prehistoric locations packed with dinosaurs. It's pure over-the-top arcade chaos. That said, every track is also well designed. All of them have shortcuts, changing scenery, and some tricky to land turns or boost paths. The race is never dull, nor is it overly difficult, and in my opinion, the game strikes an excellent balance of accessibility and challenge. When racing, you can pick up money to spend on upgrades. These upgrades are mostly cosmetic and don't improve your speed or handling, but it's still fun to see how a fully upgraded car looks like. Now some of you might be wondering, why add an upgrade system if it doesn't do anything? Well, it's because this isn't a brand new game. It first launched in arcades in 2017 before being ported to the Switch in 2021. I'd gather the designers didn't want to tamper with the balance and deliver fun for all. As such, keeping a functional upgrade system just didn't make sense. Speaking about the port itself, it targets 60 FPS, though it doesn't always hit the mark. Still, the occasional frame drop didn't take away from the fun. It runs fast enough most of the time that I'd still call it mostly a 60 FPS experience. What did take away from the fun is the game's length. Yes, due to its arcade origins, the game is very short. You can beat it in less than 3 hours and unlock everything in like 12. There are roughly 30 tracks, and I say roughly as some of them are just flipped. Yet, where the game shines is in co-op. You can play up to 4 people at a time, and since the game doesn't require a high skill level, many can join on the fun. The performance does buckle when 4 people join, but I'd gather it would run locked at 60 FPS on Switch too. Regardless of its performance, you should give this one a try. It uses quality and never overstays its welcome. The soundtrack is great, and it's the kind of game you don't get to play very often. Give it a go, it's really good. Next on the list is Tactics Ogre Reborn, a strategy RPG that isn't entirely new, but totally worth playing. You see, Tactics Ogre is a remaster of a PSP remake of the original SNES title. It's a bit complicated, I know. Now I won't go into details, but the main story is a dark political drama about a small group of rebels fighting to reclaim their land. It's really grounded, incredibly engaging, and interesting to watch. And it isn't just about seeing how the story unfolds. The game has multiple endings, meaning your choices shape the outcome. Gameplay-wise, this is a standard tactical RPG, but with a few mechanics that make each battle stand out. One of my favorite ones is how elevation matters. If your archers or mages target an enemy hiding behind a hill, their attacks will hit the hill instead. There's also fall damage, which comes into play in battles on elevated terrain. All of this is great and can be worked to your advantage, until you consider the difficulty of the game. Like Fire Emblem, it features a permadeath system. If a unit dies, it's gone for good. The game does give you a small safety net. When a unit falls, you have up to 3 turns to revive it, forcing you into a flight or fight situation. Do you revive your ally and end up in a risky situation, or take the loss and attack your enemies while they're all grouped? It's these moment-to-moment choices that keep the game very engaging. Another cool feature of the game is that the lead character can persuade enemies to join your cause. It's not the primary way to build your roster, but it adds a fun SMT-like element to the game, plus it allows you to shift the tide of the battle in your favor. Before moving to the next entry, I want to talk about the port itself. Some dismissed it as a poorly upscaled PSP version of the game, but that's not the case. It's a bespoke version of the game that doesn't use bilinear upscaling or emulation. If you compare the Switch and PSP versions side by side, you'll see that the character designs are part of the game's art style, and not just an upscaled version of the older sprite. Case in point, running the PSP version on an emulator with bilinear upscaling at 1080p shows clear differences in how the edges are treated. The re-release not only plays better but also looks stunning on a 4K display. Pixel art holds up far better than many 3D Switch games. Another thing that stands out is its performance. Many will agree that Fire Emblem games on the 3DS feel incredibly smooth and responsive, and that's because they run at 60 FPS, just like Tactics Ogre Reborn. The performance is stable, and in my testing, it never dipped below 60 FPS, even when Magic Attack fell out the screen entirely. All in all, this is a fantastic release that runs smoothly and looks incredible on the Switch. If you're into tactical RPGs, this is definitely worth your time. Few games grab my attention quite like cel-shaded ones. Whether it's Wind Waker, Okami, or Gravity Rush, these games stand out and age like fine wine. Today, cel-shaded games are fairly common, but back in 2000, one series stood at the top of the genre, Jet Set Radio. This skateboarding game had an unmistakable style and an unforgettable funk soundtrack that made it truly iconic. It even got a sequel in Jet Set Radio Future, which improved on the original in every way but unfortunately sold poorly. As a result, Sega abandoned the franchise for over 20 years. During this hiatus, a team of Dutch developers under the banner of Team Reptile decided if Sega wasn't bringing Jet Set Radio back, they'd do it themselves. Enter Bomb Rush Cyberfunk, a spiritual successor to the Jet Set Radio games. It offers a fresh yet familiar experience with quality of life improvements, a banging soundtrack, and superb level design. If this had been released in the 2000s, I wouldn't believe you if you said it wasn't a Sega game. In terms of gameplay, it sticks to the basics you'd expect from a Jet Set Radio game. Grinding, pulling off tricks, reaching absurd heights, and of course, running away from the trap. You'll also be spraying graffiti across the city to earn a reputation and progress the story. Running on Unity, I was initially skeptical about how Bomb Rush Cyberfunk would perform, but I'm happy to report that it's a solid release, and is Switch 2 ready. Not many games on the Switch allow you to unlock the frame rate, but Team Reptile created a proper option called Unleash the Beast, which lets the Switch run the game at full power. While it doesn't always hit 60 FPS, in fact it rarely does, it's still great that the game offers this option. Plus, if you don't like fluctuating frame rates, the 30 FPS mode is faultless. It's a great game that deserves your attention. It's not super long, around 10 hours to beat, but what's there, it's very cool and enjoyable. I highly recommend giving it a shot, you won't be disappointed. I've been a fan of Falcom's Ys series since the PSP days. These games have been around for a long time, dating back the same era as Final Fantasy, but for some reason they never gained mainstream attention that FF did. As such, I was incredibly thrilled to hear that Falcom is bringing back Ys, the old Felghana, to modern platforms. The game originally came out in 2005, but it was never ported to anything, so I never really had the chance to replay it. But now this problem is solved with a beautiful HD remaster. You see, the game was originally released on consoles on the PSP, which despite its strengths, was still a limited platform. The game ran at 30 FPS with a 480 by 272 resolution and reduced textures. Still, this was the version I first played and it instantly became my favorite in the series. The game also got a PC release with better textures and higher frame rates, but it was never updated properly to take advantage of modern technology. As such, this version requires a lot of fiddling with the settings to get it right. Simply put, until Memoir came out, there was no good place to play the game. So I initially expected this version to be a direct port of the PSP release, but it turned out to be a hybrid of both. Just like the PSP version, you get reduced blood effects, but at the same time you get upgraded PC textures and 60 FPS. Technical details aside, the game is a top-down action RPG. If I had to compare it to something, it's like a 2D Zelda but much faster, both in combat and pacing. After a brief 5-minute intro, you're out of town fighting monsters and rescuing people. It's refreshing to jump straight into action without having to sit through lengthy lore dumps about ancient wars and mystical creatures. And speaking about action, combat is simple and intuitive. You have melee attacks and spells which you acquire through bracelets. What I love about these spells is their dual purpose. They're not just for combat but also can be used for traversal purposes. For instance, you can bash enemies and break walls using the same spell. You can also use spin attacks to cross broken bridges or light up dark rooms with fire spells. They all feel like Metroid-style abilities that blend offensive with exploration. Yet what seals the deal for me is music. It's electrifying, driven by intense drum beats I'd recognize anywhere. The audio quality is a step up from the PSP, and you even got the option to switch between the original PC-88 versions, which is a fantastic touch for longtime fans. Overall, this is one of my favorite re-releases in recent years, and I feel like this is an ideal entry point for newcomers to the series. Performance is rock solid, resolution is high, and gameplay is just pure fun. Seriously, don't miss out on this game, it's just amazing. Last on the list is Wild Guns. Back in 2018, when everyone was obsessing over Smash Bros., a small gem quietly dropped on the eShop with little to no attention from the press. Wild Guns Reloaded by Tango Project. It's the kind of game I thought we would never see anymore. An arcade-style gallery shooter with a short runtime but incredibly compelling gameplay loop. For a long time, it felt like this SNES classic would be stuck on its original platform forever. Now, as the name suggests, Wild Guns Reloaded is a remake of the original 1994 game. The sprites, the environment, and animations have all been completely redrawn in high-definition sprite work, making it feel like a fresh experience while staying true to its roots. Beyond visual upgrades, the game also introduces several new features, including a widescreen presentation, a dedicated easy mode, 2 additional characters, and local 4-player support. But in terms of gameplay, it's still Wild Guns, but with a few balance tweaks and adjustments for the 16:9 playing space. In this game you shoot, roll and collect power-ups, but what really makes it shine is the brilliant enemy design. The variety is phenomenal, with well-crafted bullet patterns, strategic takedowns, unique movement behaviors and dynamic enemy combinations that keep every encounter engaging. There's never a dull moment in this game. Given its short length, it may not be compelling of a purchase for many. That said, you can still try the original version on NSO. While it lacks the quality of life improvements and the extra characters from Reloaded, it's still the full game and easily accessible. Plus, if you find the game tough, the NSO app lets you rewind, making it a little less punishing to reach the end credits. Overall, I doubt the game will receive any more updates, but in a dream scenario, I'd love to see an update that adds support for the Switch's 2 mouse mode. That kind of precision aiming would fit Wild Guns Reloaded perfectly. But even so, the game is already more than playable, so I highly suggest you give it a go. It's short, sweet, and well worth your time. And that wraps up my pick for the most overlooked Switch games. While the platform is still going strong, the amount of new titles is dropping, making this the perfect time to check out these hidden gems. Plus, most of these games aren't super long and are very refreshing, especially when you compare them to modern AAA titles. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and click the bell for YouTube notifications. And to get in touch, just use Blue Sky. That's all from me for now. Thanks for watching.